Hello, grade 11s. Welcome back to the channel, Science Therapy, hosted by the one and only science therapist, Abudiwa Sos Ugwabelawe Maths. And without any further ado, let's look at this question that we have here. Okay, so we have question 6. It says, aspartame is an official sweetener with the following chemical compositions. We have 57.14% carbon, 6.16% hydrogen, 9.52% nitrogen, and then we have 27.18% oxygen. And then 6.1 says define empirical formula. So quickly on that, we say empirical formula is the simplest whole number ratio of all the elements in a compound. Right. So that's what empirical formula is. It's the simplest whole number ratio of all the elements in a compound. Okay, then we have determined the empirical formula of aspartame. So what we're going to do with that one is first we have all of this, right? So we're going to note all these percentages. So let's have a clean page for that. We have 57.14% carbon, followed by 6.16 hydrogen. We have a 9.52% nitrogen. And then lastly, we have 27.18% oxygen. Right. Right. So we know the first thing to do when dealing with empirical formula is to first calculate the number of moles. Calculate the number of moles of each element. So now we have 4 elements. So we're going to calculate the number of moles for all 4 of them using the formula N is equals to mass over the molar mass. We have 57.14 over 12, and then followed by the one for hydrogen will be M over molar mass, which is 6.16 over 1. And then for the one nitrogen, mass over the molar mass, that's 9.52 over 14. And then N of oxygen, that's mass over the molar mass, that's 27.18 over 16. Okay. Then all we have to do now is just simply punch all of this into our calculator. So for this one, we have 4.76 mole, rounded off to 2 decimal places because we can see all these numbers are 2 decimal places. Then here it's just 6.16 mole. And then when we do this here, we have 0.68 mole. And then the last one has to be 1.70 mole. Right. Now, what we are supposed to do now, step number 2, we know is to divide by the simplest, to divide by the smallest number of moles. Divide by the smallest number of moles. Now, from all these answers that we have here, we must locate the smallest one, which we can all agree it's this one. So in all the answers that we have here, in order to determine the ratios, so to determine the ratio of carbon, that's 4.76 divided by that smaller number, 0.68. And then to determine the ratio of hydrogen, 6.16 divided by 0.68. To determine the number of nitrogen, so this is N, we need to say 0.68 divided by 0.68. To determine the number or the ratio of oxygen, so all of them divided by the smallest number. Now when we punch this one here, we get 7, and then from this one we get 9, and then doing this one, obviously it's a 1. Then the oxygen is giving us 2.5. So okay, now that we have 2.5 here, what are we supposed to do? Remember, what is a empirical formula? It is the simplest whole number ratio, So the 2.5, we can all agree that's not a whole number. So in order to change this to be a whole number, obviously we know I'd have to multiply it by 2. But then I cannot multiply this one by 2 and leave the others. Remember, whatever I do to this oxygen here, I must also do to all these other elements. So if I multiply this by 2 to make it a whole number, then I need to also multiply this by 2. Multiply hydrogen by 2. Multiply carbon by 2. So now, the numbers that I will have for carbon now, I will have 14. For hydrogen, I will have 18. Then for nitrogen, I will have 2. For oxygen, I will have 5. So that means my empirical formula now will look like this. So this is C14, H18, N2, and then O5. So that's my empirical formula. So that's how you were supposed to go about solving all of that for a total of 5 marks. So yep. And then let's now proceed. Okay, so we have 6.3. It says if the empirical formula is the same as the molecular formula of aspartame, calculate the molar mass of aspartame. So you will remember that 6.3, which has got the empirical formula, which now they're saying is the same as the molecular formula. So we had C14, H18, and then ON2, O5, right? So now in order to calculate the molar mass, we know that all we have to do is say 14, multiply that by 12 because carbon is 12 grams per mole. Then here we have 18 atoms of hydrogen, but hydrogen is only 1 gram per mole. And then we have 2 nitrogen atoms, and then that's 14. Then lastly, we have 5 oxygen atoms, which each is 16 grams per mole. Now, all we have to do is simply punch all of this into our calculator, and then we will get 294 grams per mole, right? So that becomes our solution for 6.3. So, okay, with all that being said, guys, please press the thumbs up button if you've enjoyed the lesson and then you found it helpful. And if you've been watching the videos and haven't subscribed yet, please hit that subscribe button. But most importantly, please share the link with your friends and classmates so that they may also find assistance. Remember, do not be selfish. We are winning as a team.